Good afternoon, everyone. We will be just starting with our webinar. I would request all of you to please put your video on and your microphone off. Please put your video on and your microphone off. Good afternoon and Jai Hind one and all. On behalf of Sunbeam School Sultanpur, I welcome all of you for a very important webinar on NEP 2020, Specific Learning Disability, by our principal ma'am, Dr. Sharanjit Kaur. Ma'am is a very experienced educator with more than with more than 25 years of experience in education field. Ma'am has attended various offline and online seminars and webinars conducted by NCRT New Delhi, SNDT Mumbai, TISS Mumbai, etc. As a CBSE resource person, she has trained many teachers by taking formal and informal workshops. Her expertise is designing pre-primary and primary curriculum. Apart from being an educator, she is also a certified rehabilitation psychologist. I will request Principal Ma'am to share her views on today's topic. Meanwhile, I would request all of you to write any questions if you have in the comment section.
Thank you, Tezi ma'am. Good afternoon and Jai Hind to one and all. Please allow me to share my screen. Yes. Now, as you all know that today's topic is National Education Policy 2020, Specific Learning Disability. Now, what is the today's main points or today's key takeaways? First, I will discuss that. I will share it with you. First, I am going to share the few highlights of National Education Policy. There are many points. I am going to share few highlights only. Then there will be definition of specific learning disability, characteristics of SLD, causes, types, levels, diagnosis, and management. After 34 years, the gap of 34 years, the new education policy has been approved by Union government, that is 2020. It brings many reforms in school education and in higher education as well. The first and the foremost reform is that the present system of schooling, that is of 10 plus 2, as we all know, it is going to be replaced by 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure. Now the first 5 years will be nursery to class 2. Now the pre-primary education has been added in the formal education system. So the first 5 years is nursery to 2, and the next 3 years is classes 3, 4 and 5. Next is middle section, that is 6th, 7th and 8th. And the last 4 years is 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. This makes the total schooling is of 15 years. Now it is good for those students who want to go abroad for higher studies. Now they may not require to do bridge course now, because now the total schooling is 15 years instead of 12 years. Now the second is FLN, Foundational Literacy and Numeracy. Focus on early reading, early writing and computations. That FLN is very important, and it will be from nursery to classes 2, especially in classes 1 and 2. Another focus is on 21st century skills. I hope you all know what is 21st century skills. I want you to type in your chat box. I want to see that how many of you know that 21st century skills, which is very, very important, these skills for all of us, and for especially for the students to lead a good and successful life. It is communication, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration. Now, another important thing which is mentioned in NEP 2020 is that every child to learn at least one vocational skill of his or her choice. See, here what I find that this is very important, because all children cannot go for research work. All students cannot be doctors. All students cannot be engineer. So like, those students who cannot go for research work, or who don't want to do the higher studies, but go in some vocation. So vocational skills will be very, very important. And the training or the emphasis is given more now in NEP 2020. There will be 10 days bagless. Now students, they don't need to take the bags. There will be other activities or internship of the different, vocational skills. It will be more clear when then the national curriculum framework, which is, under construction, you can say they are working on this. NCERT is working on that. So we will come to know that. Yes, and then there is a shift from summative assessment to regular and formative assessment. Now, earlier it is just like not exactly like CCE, which we used to have earlier, but in that also it was a regular assessment. Now, present also we are doing a regular assessment, but the focus is, and the results or everything is based on summative assessment. Now, again, there is a shift in that national education policy is that there will be a regular and formative assessment, which is again a very good thing. A new National Assessment Center, PARAK, that is Performance, Assessment, Review and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. What is holistic development? As we all know, that it is like spiritual, social, emotional, physical, all round development. It will review that, it will consider, it will work on that. That will be set up as a standard setting body. Says that is special education zones to address the structural challenges of education in inaccessible regions, that is in the remotest area where the access of the education is limited. That for that special education zones will be established. Now, NEP has done a very, very important thing. It is very important. That is that they recognize children with special needs and believes in incorporating them into the mainstream education system. Earlier, it was an integration. In 1986 policy, it was that the mild students, mild disabled children, they can be in the mainstream schools. Now, all levels of special needs children should be in that mainstream education system. So I have, you see this marked arrow, red arrow, that is like a victory of RPWD Act 2016. That is Right of Person with Disability Act 2016. It broadly aligns with the objectives of this act, this act emphasizes that the appropriate government shall ensure that the PWD enjoy the right to equality, life with dignity, and respect of his or her own integrity equally with others. Now, all students with special needs will be admitted in the mainstream schools, in the general schools, and they will participate in all the activities that we have to encourage them, and they should feel, like they are at par with others. Now, RPWD Act identified 21 types of disability: blindness, low vision, leprosy cured persons, hearing impairment, locomotor disability, dwarfism, intellectual disability, mental illness, autism spectrum disorder, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, chronic neurological conditions, specific learning disabilities, multiple sclerosis, speech and language disability, thalassemia, hemophilia, multiple disabilities including deaf blindness, acid attack victim, and Parkinson disease. They have identified, CBSC gives relaxation to all these type of disabilities in school education and in examination also. And besides this, even the government has secured some percentage, the quota is there for the government jobs, and some housing schemes also give some 4% for persons with this type of disability. Now, the NEP addresses several aspects of teacher education. First is for the general teachers, that 50 hours training per year is now required, and that is a very good thing, very, very good thing. The teachers should update themselves, and particularly the general, and then the special educators also, they have done preparation and service conditions that are relevant for children with disabilities. Teachers will be trained to recognize and identify disabilities, particularly specific learning disabilities. Now you can think that you have understood now by now that why I have taken specific learning disability. Even the National Education Policy has discussed and emphasized on this, specific learning disability. And it is mentioned there that teachers will be trained, all the teachers, general, teachers, the mainstream school teachers, and the teachers for the special educators also, because now the teachers, students with special needs will be in the mainstream school. So the teachers of mainstream school should know that how to identify such students and what to do with those students. So they are working on short-term courses, and small capsules or modules are being prepared for that. So what we thought, it's not the responsibility of the government, it's a collective responsibility. So we also should do a bit for that. But there is a miss also, like NEP only refers to learning disabilities in the context of training teachers to identify disabilities. But what I believe that there should be autistic children also to, to work on that. And then now, since our topic is specific learning disabilities, so first we will see that what is specific learning disability, what is the definition. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act idea provides that specific learning disability means a disorder in one or more of the basic psychological process involved in understanding or in using language, spoken or written, which disorder may manifest itself in the imperfect ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or do mathematical calculations. However, learning disabilities do not include learning problems that are primarily the result of visual, hearing, or motor disabilities, of mental retardation, of emotional disturbance, or of environmental, cultural, or economic disadvantage. If I just explain you this definition in layman language, it is like it says two things. Number one is that it affects the learning disability is an inability to do writing, reading, and mathematics. It affects the academic skills. Second, it says like you cannot say, like, for example, if a child is not able to copy from the blackboard, right? So first we have to see, maybe the child is having low vision, weak eyesight. So first we have to rule out this. If the child is not able to write because of that, because of the low vision, because of the weak eyesight, so then we can't say that the child is learning disabled. That is number one. Number two, another example is like a teacher, the child is not able to follow the instructions of the teacher in the class. He commits lots of mistakes when the teacher dictates something in the class, like dictation. So then we have to see that whether is there any problem vis-a-vis the hearing, बच्चा सुन पा रहा है कि नहीं सुन पा रहा है, that we have to rule out, right? Third is that sometimes the child is having a low IQ, intellectually impaired. That also we have to rule out. If the child is not suffering with any other sensory handicaps is कि ना तो कोई सुनने की प्रॉब्लम है, ना देखने की प्रॉब्लम है, तो उस और जो सेंसरी हैंडीकैप्स हैं, if it is not there, तब हमको देखना है कि the child should not be intellectually impaired also. And the fourth thing is the child should not be emotionally upset. Sometimes when the child is upset, then also the child is not able to perform. So there are other factors. So first we have to rule out that, and then only we will say that if the child is not able to perform well in the classroom or in academics, after ruling out this, we'll say, yes, the child is having, we can say that the child is having a, or maybe having a learning disability. Now, the next is, as per the DSM-5, that DSM-5, which the mental professionals, they use it for the classification of mental orders and to identify these, things. It says that specific learning disability is a type of neurodevelopmental disorder that impedes the ability to learn or use specific academic skills, that is reading, writing, or again that is arithmetic, which are the foundation for other academic learning. Now we are talking of learning disability. So first we should see that that what is the learning process? Like what is, we are saying learning disability. So what is a learning process? Actually, the learning process, हम कैसे सीखते हैं? How do we learn? So it involves listening, thinking, perceiving, memory and expression. For example, I am speaking. मैं बोल रही हूं और आप सुन रहे हैं. You are listening. No, and at the same time you are thinking also. And then you are filtering information which you think is very important for you. You want to retain it. You just transfer it to your long-term memory, right? From short-term memory to long-term memory. And then whenever it is required, you can use it, you can retrieve it from your long-term memory and use it. So this is the learning process. कैसे है learning process? कि हम सुनते हैं, हम देखते हैं, हम सोचते हैं, हम समझते हैं. ये सारा प्रोसेस जो है वो लर्निंग प्रोसेस होता है. अब उसमें जहां हमें प्रॉब्लम होती है समझने में, इस लर्निंग प्रॉब्लम में, इस लर्निंग प्रोसेस में, if there is a disorder, then there is a learning disability. So a child with LD is having a problem in taking in information, understanding it, processing it and retaining it. Retention is not there. वो भूल जाता है. He forgets. आपने अभी बताया, maybe he remembers it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or maybe for a day, but next day it is blank. And sometimes the children are able to retain it for some time, but when you tell them to express, their expression is, it is very haphazard. It is not organized. So there is a disorder in learning process. Now, is it a new phenomena? No. It is, the prevalence is, it is there since the evolution of mankind. But a systematic focus was given or was done in 1960s, first in the West, and now in India also lots of things are being done. That you can say that NEP 2020 also mentioned it. Now, how do we recognize the child with learning disability? आप पहचानेंगे कैसे अपनी क्लास में as a teacher? Because most of us, those who are present here, are not special educators. So how will you recognize that? The first thing is that the child is intelligent. If there is no other disability associated with it, means like if the child is not intellectually impaired, there is no other disability, it's only, if it is only learning disability, then the child is intelligent, the IQ is of average or above average, but shows poor performance or fails in the school. There is a discrepancy between the IQ, intelligence, and the academic achievement. Like for example, class 9th child is not able to read class 6th level reading. The level is class 6th. So, but the child is bright, but the child is intelligent. So first thing is that. Second, very interesting, characteristic with such children is that they hear the barking of the dog at a distance, but what the teacher is saying in the class, they are not able to comprehend. At the same time, mother is teaching at home, पढ़ा रही हैं घर पे, और बच्चा आपको बता देगा कि कोई आ गया गेट पे. There is a sound, there is opening of the gate, there is a sound of opening of the gate, and the child, or there is a doorbell, so the child comes to know quickly. वो कहेगा अरे कोई है गेट पे. Mother will say कि मैं पढ़ा रही हूँ, मेरा दिमाग नहीं गया, तुमको पढ़ना है, and you are just, don't pay attention to this. And similarly in the classroom also, this is the child who will tell the teacher, the bell has rung, ma'am घंटी बज गई. This child will tell you. But what are you saying in the class, he or she is not able to comprehend. Another is they remember the sequence of TV serials. They will sing the title song of that serial, but not able to remember or recall mathematical tables. तब हम क्या कहते हैं? वो तो सब तुम्हें याद है, लेकिन तुमको ये नहीं याद होता. But this happens with, LD children. They are always confused with yesterday, today, tomorrow. You ask from class 3 or class 4 child, beta, what is today? He may answer Saturday. Okay. What was yesterday? Friday. What will be tomorrow? The answer would be Tuesday, Wednesday, anything. And after some time, if you ask again, the question answer will be changed. So they are always confused with the time, with the days. They write on for no. They have to write no. उनको no लिखना है. They will write on. उनको उनको 100 लिखना है. They will write was. उनको 14 लिखना है, 41 लिखना है. They will write 14. And they have mood swings. बहुत mood swings होते हैं इनके. Sometimes they feel low, sometimes they feel high. Then they are very disorganized and messy. They are the ones जो घर पे आते हैं तो उनकी यूनिफॉर्म भी सबसे ज्यादा गंदी होती है. And you know, like even the teacher also tells, the mother also tells ki you write less on copy and you write more on your shirt, more on your face, more on your hands. So, and the drawing work is also messy, very messy. Is poor at time management. They take time for everything, you know, and they don't know, like, this is the work of 5 minutes, but they will take 50 minutes for that. So the mother and the teacher both have to be after that child. Beta, finish your work, finish your food. Like in school also, they are the children where the teachers should be very, very careful when the examinations are going on, because they don't have that time management. Is enthusiastic about finishing particular task in academics, but it comes out all wrong. If you give some work as a teacher in the class, they are the ones who will say, ma'am, I have finished it. They will raise their hand and they will just be very enthused and come with the solved things, but 100%, not 90% are wrong, or maybe all wrong. While reading, what do? They omit adds. The word is not there, but they will add it. They will read it, that word also. वो वर्ड पढ़ लेंगे, पर वर्ड नहीं लिखा है उसमें. आप उसको रीडिंग को दीजिए, वो वर्ड नहीं लिखा है, पर वो बच्चा पढ़ेगा उस वर्ड को. और कुछ वर्ड्स को वो स्किप कर देगा. द चाइल्ड विल स्किप दोज वर्ड्स, यू नो, ओमिट कर देगा उसको. एंड तब आप क्या कहते हो? डिडंट यू हैव ब्रेकफास्ट इन द मॉर्निंग? यू आर ईटिंग ऑल द वर्ड्स. We should not, because the child feels bad. And then another is that they cannot do mathematical calculations. वो नहीं कर पाते हैं. If you tell them to, like, you know, you give them some clues, and mentally if you tell them, okay, this is 4, then 5, so like on fingers, so they will do. But as soon as you tell them to put it on paper, they will not be able to do it. So there are problems with that also. And another is that they are not able to sustain attention on a given task. आप उनको कोई काम दीजिए, they will not be able to like, you know, do it for a longer time, because their attention span is very short. बहुत जल्दी ध्यान भटक जाता है उनका. वो थोड़ा सा ही बस कुछ करते हैं और फिर उनका attention जो है खत्म हो जाता है उससे, and then they pay attention to anything other things, you know. Then another is causes of learning disability. अब learning disability होती क्यों है? क्या इसके कारण हैं होने के? There is no single cause or a group of factors. It has not yet been identified which we can say that it directly cause learning disability. कोई भी कारण ऐसा एक या कोई और 2-4 कारण नहीं है जिसको हम डायरेक्टली कह दें कि इसके होने से लर्निंग डिसेबिलिटी होती है बच्चे में. So what could be the reason? First is the highly heritable. Hereditary plays an important role. If a parent or a close family member has a learning disorder or learning disability, they are learning challenged, so there is a probability that child will also have a learning disability, learning problem. The child will also be learning challenged, right? And we have seen in larger cases that genetic factors plays an important role. Now another is drugs or alcohols in utero. If the mother, pregnant mother, takes drugs or alcohol, So that may also contribute in this. Then poor maternal nutrition, maternal endocrine disorder, and maternal age. Mother ki age kya hai? That may also contribute. Then poor prenatal health care. Like if any poor prenatal health care in this, the important is that, like, if any injury happens to the fetus between the 4th and the 14th week of gestation, that period is the most critical period for the development of nervous system. So if any injury happens during that time, during pregnancy, and during that, the 4th and the 14th week of that, then it may cause learning disability. Then next is RH incompatibility, reproductive readiness. Mother is not ready for that, but still she has conceived and she is going. So mentally and physically, both health affects on the child also. And then prolonged labor. Then another is postnatal factors during the time of birth or after that, immediately after that, post-birth trauma, head injury at that time, causing neurological damage, seizures, chronic ear infections, other infections such as meningitis, and those who inhale or ingest neurotoxins. That is our postnatal factors. And then the other causes is biochemical factors. There are biochemical factors also. Chemicals play an important role because they have a direct impact on the brain. So researchers believe that there is a relationship between the chemicals such as serotonin, dopamine, and hyperactivity. And please remember it, hyperactivity is closely associated with learning disability. And then it is also believed that food coloring and preservatives found in the food items causes attention problems. क्या बच्चे का जो ध्यान है वो बहुत जल्दी बहुत फोकस्ड नहीं रहता है, भटक जाता है. उसके रीजंस ये हो सकते हैं कि जो प्रिजर्वेटिव्स जो फूड आइटम्स में डाले जाते हैं, जो फूड कलरिंग उसमें होती है, उससे ये हो सकता है. Then another is nutritional deficiencies. As we all know that the children, the nutrition plays a very important role in the growing years of the child. जब बच्चा बढ़ रहा होता है तो उसको और बैलेंस डाइट और न्यूट्रिशनल डाइट चाहिए होती है. It's not only the pregnant mother who needs न्यूट्रिशनल डाइट, बट अ चाइल्ड जो बढ़ रहा है, जो ग्रोइंग चाइल्ड है, उसको भी आपको न्यूट्रिशनल डाइट देनी है. जो मैल न्यूट्रिशन होता है, जो बच्चे को न्यूट्रिशनल डाइट नहीं मिलती है, दैट कॉजेस पुअर बायोकेमिकल फंक्शनिंग इन द ब्रेन एंड इट लीड्स टू डिलेड मैच्योरेशन. सो हमें वैसे तो न्यूट्रिशनल फूड सबको ही लेना है, बट द प्रेग्नेंट मदर्स एंड द ग्रोइंग चाइल्ड शुड टेक, एंड द पेरेंट्स, दे शुड टेक केयर ऑफ दिस. Then there are psychological factors also. Now the psychological factors are children who are emotionally disturbed or traumatized, maybe because of the broken home, like separated parents, पेरेंट्स में डिवोर्स है, पेरेंट्स में नहीं बन रही है, डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस है, घर में कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, कुछ इश्यूज हैं, फाइनेंशियल इश्यूज हैं. Just because of that, the child is emotionally upset and the child is not able to perform. Then in that case, the learning disabled is secondary, right? And then there is experiential deprivation. Maybe the child is first generation learner, घर में कोई पढ़ा लिखा नहीं है, or the child is in English medium school and the parents, if they are educated also, or the education is not very high and then too from a Hindi medium, they are not able to guide the child, then also the child is having some problems. तब भी उनको कुछ learning की achievement academics में problems होती हैं, and then we have to see that also. Now, types of learning difficulties. कितनी तरह की होते हैं ये? फर्स्ट इज डिसलेक्सिया, that is related to problems in reading, writing, spelling, speaking. Then dyscalculia, problems doing maths problems, बच्चे maths नहीं कर पाता है. Dysgraphia, problems with handwriting, spelling, organizing ideas. Now, जो first three are, these three are very important, and I will take a separate session on these three in next week. Now, next is dyspraxia, problems with eye-hand coordination, balance. बच्चा ऐसे बच्चे एक्सीडेंट प्रोन होते हैं, वो बहुत जल्दी गिर जाएंगे, इधर लुढ़क जाएंगे, तो हम लोग क्या कहते हैं, तुम ध्यान से चलो, इतनी तेज मत भागो. But that problem is with the fine motor skills also and the gross motor skills also. Then auditory processing disorders, problems with reading, listening, comprehension, language. Then visual processing disorder, the problems with reading maps, charts, symbols, pictures. Now, I want to say one more thing here, that the first three when I will take session, so I request all my educators, please be ready with pen and paper, because then during that session, there will be few activities also. Now, the next is levels. Learning disability के different levels हैं. It is from mild to severe. Like in mild क्या है? Some difficulties with learning in one or two areas, they may be able to do. Like for example, there is a child in our school. The child is having a problem in Hindi subject, right? The child is in that subject, he is not able to read la and sha. La and sha only he is not able to read. You tell him 10 times that this is la and this is sha, but he forgets every time and he is not able to read. Now he is in class 9th. And then there are some problems with the matras in Hindi. So such children, they are able to manage. We manage it, unko aap manage kar sakte hain jo mild hote hain. अब मॉडरेट क्या होता है? मॉडरेट के अंदर इंटेंसिटी थोड़ी बढ़ गई, बच्चे को एक या दो सब्जेक्ट्स में प्रॉब्लम है. कैसे प्रॉब्लम है? लाइक द चाइल्ड हैज प्रॉब्लम इन इंग्लिश, राइट, इन रीडिंग. So because of this, the child is having problem in maths also, because the child has to read word problems. उसको पढ़नी है ना, word problems उसको पढ़नी है, तब उसका आंसर देना है. तो child is having a problem in maths also. So in that case, like specialized teaching and accommodations चाहिए होता है, और पेरेंट्स को इस बात को एक्सेप्ट करना है कि हमारे बच्चे के साथ ये प्रॉब्लम है. Then there is severe. In severe, intensive specialized teaching चाहिए, IEP, individualized education planning, though it is required in moderate also, in mild also, but in severe cases, it is really, we have to go for in detail for each and everything to make or to adjust the child in the school system. Now, next is, it doesn't affect the academics only. अभी तक हम बात कर रहे हैं कि उनके 3 एरियाज हैं, रीडिंग, राइटिंग एंड अरिथमेटिक, which LD affects. But it not only affects academics, it affects the other areas of life. How? Self-esteem. First of all, self-esteem. Because the child wants to do, वो करना चाहता है. Because child is bright, intelligent है, वो करना भी चाहता है, but the child is not able to do that, and child is aware of this कि उसको कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, that's why he is not able to do. But what happens with parents and teachers? Parents accept नहीं करते, वो भी उसको डांटते हैं हमेशा, scolding, punishing, and in school also the teachers also think कि बड़ा intelligent है पर तब भी नहीं कर पा रहा है, तो उसके it affects the self esteem of the child. And negative self-esteem really affects the child in all areas. So we should try to understand the child. Then it affects the behavior. Self-esteem low hai, to behavior mein problem aayegi. There will be behavioral problems. Maybe the child will be more aggressive now, or the child starts hiding the things. वो झूठ बोलने लगते हैं, वो सच नहीं बताते हैं, अपने पेरेंट्स से, टीचर से चीजें छुपाने लगते हैं, because they think, the learning LD child thinks कि nobody understands me. मैं कुछ भी करूं, कुछ भी बताऊं, कुछ समझ ही नहीं आ रहा किसी को, nobody understands me. That is a problem. Then communication, because the child loses confidence, lack of self confidence, he is or she is not able to communicate properly. He is not able to tell what does he want, because in spite of his telling and his explaining the thing कि मैं भूल गया, मैं नहीं लिख पाया, because he cannot explain in detail कि क्या, what is the problem. Then understanding expectations, and the child is confused कि मैं ये नहीं कर पा रहा, मुझे मालूम है मेरे को प्रॉब्लम है, पेरेंट्स और टीचर्स आर नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग दिस कि मुझसे क्या चाहते हैं, तो उसको एक्सपेक्टेशंस को भी उसको समझ में बहुत प्रॉब्लम आती है बच्चे को, बच्चे के माइंड में बहुत सी चीजें चलती रहती हैं, उसकी वजह से फ्रस्ट्रेशन भी आ जाता है. देन इट इज अ मेमोरी, इट अफेक्ट्स द मेमोरी ऑफ द चाइल्ड, एलडी की. जब वो भूलता है तो डेली लाइफ में भी जो उसकी मेमोरी की प्रॉब्लम है, यादाश्त की प्रॉब्लम है, इट अफेक्ट्स दैट. आप उसको मार्केट भेजिए क्लास 9th 10th 11th के बच्चे को, एलडी बच्चे को, ही विल फॉरगेट. यू विल टेल हिम 4 things, he will only remember 1 or 2 things. So it affects the daily life also. He doesn't, because of the lack of confidence, he is hesitant in asking for help. He is dependent, and siblings के साथ भी उसकी problems हो जाती हैं. Why? Because we make comparisons. Teachers also make comparisons. If the siblings are in the same school and other sibling is performing well, then the teachers also make comparison, and the parents also regularly make comparison. तुम कुछ कर ही नहीं पाते हो, उसको देखो, अपने भाई को, अपनी बहन को, कितना अच्छा करता है वो, and you are not able to do this, why don't you cope up with this. तो like you know, ये सब चीजों से उसको siblings एक rivalry बढ़ जाती है उसकी. Then daily task में उसको problem आती है, because it is slow, not organized. खाना eating disorders होते हैं उसको. And after school, it's not that the child has problem in the school. As I said, there's a problem in the after school also. Now, diagnosis. How to diagnose, right? The diagnosis is a very comprehensive assessment. And psychologists, neuropsychologists, speech language pathologists, and special educators, they all do that. It's a team who identifies whether the child is learning disabled or not. It's a team. And there is no single test. कोई एक टेस्ट नहीं है इसका जो आपको बता दे, आपने टेस्ट किया, ब्लड टेस्ट किया और बता दिया कि विधाल टेस्ट में अभी टाइफाइड है कि नहीं है, कौन सा फीवर है. इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट. हियर देयर इज नो सिंगल टेस्ट जो आपको कर दे. We have to collect the information from different sources, from multiple resources, that is like medical and developmental history from parents, school records, students self-report, direct observation of the child. Parents को भी करना है बहुत ध्यान से और teachers को भी करना है. And standardized measures of मतलब IQ test and academic achievement test. Psychologists and neuropsychologists typically they administer these tests. Now, management. First is the screening. Screening में parents भी help कर सकते हैं. Teachers को when they come to know what are the characteristics, they can also do that. Screening and early detection. Then personal and family counseling. बच्चे की तो काउंसलिंग चाहिए ही, फैमिली की काउंसलिंग, पेरेंट्स की काउंसलिंग बहुत जरूरी है, बिकॉज इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर द पेरेंट्स टू एक्सेप्ट इट कि मेरे बच्चे के साथ कोई प्रॉब्लम है. दे डोंट एक्सेप्ट इट, बिल्कुल एक्सेप्ट नहीं करते हैं. वो कहते हैं नहीं बच्चा इंटेलिजेंट है, क्योंकि बच्चा इंटेलिजेंट है, नो डाउट बच्चा इंटेलिजेंट है, लेकिन मैंने कहा ना इंटेलिजेंस एंड एलडी दो डिफरेंट चीजें हैं. लर्निंग डिसेबिलिटी, बच्चा लर्निंग डिसेबल्ड है और इंटेलिजेंट भी है, उसका एक कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है. तो उसमें क्या होता है, आप पेरेंट्स क्या करते हैं, मैम इसको और लिखवाइए, इसको और लिखवाइए, ये अब कोई को करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज में ही विल नॉट पार्टिसिपेट, ही विल ओनली स्टडीज. और डैमेज कर दिया बच्चे का. जहां हम कॉम्पनसेट कर सकते हैं उसको एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज के अंदर बच्चे में कॉन्फिडेंस ला सकते हैं कि तुम यू आर गुड एट दिस, यू कैन डू दिस, हमने वो भी रुकवा दिया उसका. सिर्फ पढ़ाई 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 पे हमने फोकस किया जो वो नहीं कर पा रहा है और हम उसको समझ नहीं पा रहे हैं. Then it is the supportive and remedial education and teaching. Sensory integration training is also required. Now, what is the role of teacher? as an educator, how can you help? You can help in screening, right? You can find out, yes, the child has all these characteristics. I think there is some problem. Then you can refer the child in consultation with parents to the counselor, to the psychologist, to the special educator of the school. And then you can assess academic achievement, because that child is intelligent, but there is a low achievement. I told you, there is a discrepancy between intelligence and the academic achievement of LD child. So you can assess that. And in English, if it's an English medium school, or as well as in the first language, now the National Education Policy also has said that the children, they should be given, they should be taught, till primary classes in their mother tongue. So the state board schools, those who are teaching in Hindi, or in Maharashtra, they can teach in Marathi like this. So you can test that also. You can assess, because the language should not be the barrier. Language is not the measure of intelligence. Please remember it. लैंग्वेज हो सकता है बच्चा फर्स्ट जनरेशन लर्नर हो, उसको इंग्लिश का एक्सपोजर ना हो, इंग्लिश कम आने की वजह से परफॉर्मेंस कम हो रहा है. सो लैंग्वेज इज नॉट द मेजर ऑफ इंटेलिजेंस. आप बच्चे की फर्स्ट लैंग्वेज में टेस्ट करिए whether the child is able to perform it or not, and change the mindset. Give up your rigid style. You should not sympathize but empathize with these children and try to understand, and then counsel parents. मैं फिर कहती हूं, it is difficult to counsel parents, but please do counseling of the parents, and parents should also understand if there is a problem with the child. Perform, reform, and transform. Our Honorable Union Education Minister, Mr. Pokhriyal, has said 2 days back also, perform, reform, and transform. So as an educator, as a teacher, we should perform, we should reform and transform. Teachers encourage minds to think, hands to create, and hearts to love. With this, I conclude my this session. And if there is any question, please write in the chat box. I want to just tell you that, again, just to remind you, for the first three, that dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and dyslexia, को बताने के लिए नेक्स्ट वीक एक सेशन होगा, जिसमें आपको पेन एंड पेपर लेके बैठना होगा. बहुत क्वेश्चंस नहीं होंगे, बट इट विल बी अ 1 or 2 एक्टिविटीज टू मेक यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाट आर द प्रॉब्लम्स एंड व्हाट इज द माइंडसेट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स. So I want to know if there is any question. Any question? Tehzeeb ma'am?
No, ma'am, there are no questions, ma'am.
There are no questions. So I think we should wind up. Thank you. And but before that, what I want that all of you please switch on the camera for photo session. Please, all of you switch on the camera for photo session. Done? Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for a very informative webinar. It was a very enlightening session for all of us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.